If you're someone that simply doesn't like or doesn't enjoy or doesn't have the time to analyze individual stocks, or you like to invest in ETFs, then this video is for you. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. If you're new to my channel, consider subscribing and smashing that like button since it really helps the channel out. So today we will talk about, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best ETF to invest on for the long term. Also, I opened a second channel in Spanish where I will post almost the same content but in Spanish. So if you know someone that speaks or understands Spanish, it will mean the world to me if you go and subscribe and share the channel. So I have been tracking this ARK ETF for a year now, and it has been an incredible ride. I learned about it because of a subscriber or a member of the Discord group chat, and it caught my attention right away. Why? Well, because almost all, if not all, ETFs tend to be boring or focus on past trends and history. ARK ETF was way different. We have all heard about the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, Vanguard, and many more, but the difference between them and ARK is their holdings. ARK invests in disruptive and innovative companies with huge potential, while other ETF invest in value stocks. Also, the performance of ARK has been incredible in the past 5 years in comparison with other ETFs. As you can see, in the past 5 years, ARK Invest has gone up 511%, while the Nasdaq, which invests in technology, has only gone up 181%, and the S&P 500 98%. Now, don't get me wrong, obviously 189% and 98% return in 5 years is incredible, but it is nowhere near the over 500% return that ARK has had. But we also need to understand the difference between them, and I'm not talking about the companies that they invest in, since I already mentioned that, but we need to know the difference between a passive ETF and an active ETF. A passive ETF is an ETF that simply tracks a specific sector or an entire index, just like the SPY tracks the S&P 500. Then an active ETF is an ETF that has a manager or a whole team actively trading or adjusting their investments, buying or selling new or old stocks, always trying to outperform the market. And that is why an active ETF is a high risk, high reward ETF, because they don't only invest in more innovative, disruptive, and volatile stock, but also are constantly buying or selling stocks depending on what they see in the market. So I decided to do this video to update you guys on the ETF, since my last video about it was last year. To start, it is impressive how the volume and assets of this ETF has grown in less than a year. First of all, I assume all of you already know who Cathie Woods is, since she is the CEO of ARK Invest. To start, she went from being completely unknown and managing a small amount of money to becoming one of the most, if not the most well-known fund manager in the world. At the beginning, no one believed in her, and a lot of people actually thought she was crazy because of the company she was investing in. And right now, she has already earned everyone's respect. Every newspaper, CNBC, Wall Street Journal, everyone have talked about her and what she has achieved. Back in the day, she said that Tesla stock was going to get to $4,000, for example, and at the moment, people, the news, investors, everyone would make fun of her. People thought she was crazy because they were comparing Tesla with GM or Ford and others, and at that moment, those companies were not producing electric vehicles, and she explained that Tesla was all electric and the future was electric and not gas, plus that Tesla was not only a cars company, and look where we are right now. Tesla delivered 500,000 vehicles last year, and the stock is trading at $677, which would be about $3,300 before the split, meaning that Tesla certainly surpassed the $4,000 mark at the beginning of this year. Obviously, Cathie's popularity and credibility was not the only thing that changed. Their fund grew massively. When I did my first video about ARK ETF back in August, they had a total net asset of $4.8 billion, which obviously is a huge amount of money, but seeing it at $17.68 billion right now, 8 months later, is insane. They almost 4x their net assets within 8 months. Why? Well, in my opinion, it is because people notice what is coming. Notice that disruptive companies, innovation, technology is the future, and ARK is focusing on investing on that. ARK Invest have always talked about the future, saying that the world beyond us is way bigger than we expect and will be way different than the past because of technology and disruptive innovation. And people have noticed that with companies like Square, which disrupted the banking industry, Tesla, the car industry, or even Netflix, they noticed that Cathie Wood is not that crazy. They got to a point that Cathie Wood takes crown from JP Morgan fourth largest active ETF, and this was back in December. Imagine where it is right now. But one of the things I like the most about ARK is how open they are. They post all the research done on their investments, white papers, podcasts, articles, webinars, valuation spreadsheets, how they value stock, you name it. Even their daily movements, what they buy and sell every single day, which is not something everyone does, and they got permission to do so. Their website is something I recommend you watch out to learn more about how they value growth stocks, because as they said, disruptive innovation is often not priced correctly by traditional investment strategies because people may not understand how big the ultimate opportunities are going to be. They're not sizing the opportunity and they aren't analyzing the disruption. Now, when I last talked about ARK, they only had 5 ETF under their management: ARK Innovation, Autonomous Technology, Next Generation Internet, Genomic Revolution, and FinTech Innovation. But they recently launched their ARK ETF, or their Space Exploration and Innovation ETF, which focuses on orbital and suborbital aerospace companies, enabling technologies companies, and aerospace beneficiary companies, and these are their holdings. This ETF is already on track to be one of the most successful fund launches ever. Investors poured $536.2 million into an actively managed exchange-traded fund known as ARKX in its first 5 days of trading. And in my opinion, this shows the power that ARK Invest has right now, as more and more people trust them because of the success that they have had with their investments, and also because we have always been told that investing in ETF instead of individual stocks is always better in the long term. So there are a lot of people that only invest in ETFs, but obviously it is not easy to invest only in ETF and see companies like Square, Tesla, Upwork, Lemonade, and more doubling, tripling, or even 10x while your ETF is up 8 to 14% yearly. Well, those people that only invest in ETFs, as that is the safest way to invest, now are able to own a little piece of those growth, disruptive, and innovative companies like Tesla and see nice returns while investing only in ETFs. Now, obviously, it is impossible to know if ARK will always have that kind of return. In my opinion, it could slow down with time, but if they continue focusing on innovation, they could outperform others' ETF in the long term. Now, I would assume you have seen some of these videos on YouTube titled with a big warning word at the beginning of the title, talking to ARK investors. And even though I don't think this is a warning because nothing wrong is happening with ARK, I do think it is important to take note of that and not make the same mistakes again. What people are talking about in these videos is how investors are not able to have the same return that the funds have had, and that is because investors tend to chase past performance and underperform the investment fund that they hold. Let me explain. If you are someone that invested in ARK, let's say back in November 5th, 2020, because you saw that past performance and that the ETF was going up nicely, but suddenly 2 weeks later it dropped 11%, you would start thinking that you made a bad investment and most likely panic sell on October 26th, thinking you will be cutting your losses. And the very next day it starts going up again, so you decide to buy again. Well, people that tend to do that are not able to have the over 500% return that the ETF has had over the past 5 years, because people tend to follow trends, chase performance, buy when it's going up and sell when it's going down, instead of buying and holding for the long term. Now, is ARK definitely the best ETF to invest right now? To be honest, it all depends. I think it might be the best ETF for me and for my retirement account. I'm 24 years old, almost 25 this Sunday, and I think I can still take risks and invest in high risk, high reward things. That is why I have been focusing on investing in growth stocks instead of value or dividend stocks or even ETF. I don't hold any ETF right now because even though they are nice too and have a nice return as well, I think I like to take the risks right now and do my own research. I do think investing in an ETF ETF is safer and the way to go when starting on investing, or if you don't have the time to do a ton of research in companies and if you would like to invest in growth stocks, then ARK is definitely the way to go for you. If we are talking about our retirement account and we would like to only invest in ETFs, then maybe I would put about 30% in the S&P 500 and the other 70% of my money divided between the different ARK ETFs such as ARKK, ARKQ, ARKW, and ARKG or something like that. But the important thing is that you don't try to time the market and just invest every time you can for the long term. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about ARK Invest, if you invest in any other ETFs and why. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please smash that like button and subscribe since it really helps the channel out. Thank you and see you next time.